Hi, I'm Detroit City Councilman James Tate, and I'm here today on this Community Spotlight with two very special individuals representing a very special organization, Legal Aid and Defenders. I'd like to introduce you to Attorney Michelle Hall as well as Attorney Gina Polley. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Legal Aid Defenders, you know, a lot of people have heard of the name, but they don't necessarily know what the organization does. But before we go there, tell us a little bit about your background and what you've done in your career, because you like to establish the credibility, then we'll build it up to the organization. So, Attorney Michelle.
Yes, I, in my current position, I'm Deputy Chief Counsel at Legal Aid and Defender, which means I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations and the direction of the legal work that we provide. Prior to that, the bulk of my career was through the UAW Legal Services plans through GM, Chrysler, and Ford. I've been practicing law since 1984, and I've been with Legal Aid and Defender since 2002 in the same capacity.
Wow.
Hi, I am Deputy Chief Counsel on the other side of Michelle. She handles the day-to-day legal operations. I handle the community and the broad-based work that Legal Aid does in the community because we cover not only the Detroit area, but all of Wayne County, Oakland County, and Macomb County. I have been an attorney since 1997. This is my second career, so I'm one of the older generation, and I have been with Legal Aid since 2000 in several different capacities. So
Legal Aid and Defender, again, many of us have heard of the name, and I've been able to do a little peeking, so I know a lot of what you all do. But for those out in the public who may not have any idea but have heard the name, just give us a quick synopsis of what goes on behind the curtain, if you will.
Legal Aid and Defender is the largest provider of legal services in Michigan. We provide civil as well as criminal legal services to individuals within the Tri-County area. The civil law group, for which Gina and I represent, we assist low-income individuals with legal matters. It's at no cost to the citizens as long as they qualify financially for our services. So part of our mission is to ensure that individuals have equal access to justice regardless of your financial means. So that's what we do. We provide legal services to individuals that cannot otherwise afford to hire an attorney.
Well, before we go there, what I want to do is we want to go to another break, and we're going to come back and talk about those funds, those federal funds and state funds that I know have been cut and how it challenges you. But you've been tuned into Community Spotlight with Councilman James Tate and the Legal Aid and Defenders.
Do you know what most people do when they realize they're struggling to pay their mortgage? Nothing. Surprising? Perhaps. But it's just too humiliating, too painful, too complicated, too scary. As the bills pile up and the pressure keeps growing, people just stop. But if people take action, if they reach out, make a call, they have a much better chance at a positive outcome. That is the simple message the Making Home Affordable program wanted to send. We created a new TV commercial that held a mirror to the problem. We showed people literally stopped, frozen, petrified, paralyzed by their own mortgage struggles. In our research, people told us, "That's how I feel." Apparently, it's how a lot of people feel. Calls to the Hope Hotline went up 25% on the day of the launch and have held steady since at nearly 70,000 calls per month. Since 2010, the campaign has received over $33 million in donated media, including TV, radio, and outdoor in hard-hit housing markets, even signage in Times Square. This level of exposure, along with robust search engine marketing, frequent events, program announcements, and a revamped website, are making an impact. Website visits are at an all-time high, nearly 900,000 visits in January alone. But the most important statistic of all, over 900,000 people have received permanent loan modifications as a result of the program. And we have an opportunity to make an even bigger difference in the lives of struggling homeowners. The federal government has extended the application period for the Making Home Affordable program for another year, meaning even more people will get real help, real answers, right now.
So we're back with Community Spotlight. Before we went to the break, we were talking about the funding, and it takes a significant amount of funding, I know, because you all help more than 600,000 people in the Tri-County area. That's a lot of work. How have the cutbacks from the state level as well as the federal level affected the work that you all do? Attorney Polley?
Well, we received a considerable cut from our federal funding back in December of 2011, where we had to lay off nearly 33% of our staff. So you can imagine the number of clients that we have to represent in the Tri-County area has increased, while the number of attorneys that we have to help these clients has been reduced significantly. And so what we have had to do is then seek out additional funding sources by diversifying our funding through foundations or through other state and federal grants that may be available to help us. But again, the money is just not always out there for us. Even our United Way monies have been reduced based on what the auto industry has suffered over the past years.
And we certainly understand what that's like in the city of Detroit. You know, when your resources begin to dwindle, you have to change your service model. Right. And so how have you adopted or adapted to those changes outside of finding additional funding? I know from the research that I looked at, you offer a number of workshops because you want to provide citizens with better information before they will actually need your legal services, which will reduce the cost all around. It reduces their headache for sure, the residents, but it also reduces the cost on your end. So tell me a little bit about the workshops that you all provide.
And you're right, Councilman Tate. What we did is we went to a new initiative called Broad-Based Advocacy, and that is what Gina is the deputy chief of. And what we've done is we've looked at ways to deliver the same legal services without as much one-on-one direct representation. And therefore we went to the seminar concept, which has been very successful. So we go in the community and we provide information on legal topics with the goal of working with clients to empower themselves to handle their own legal matters as much as possible. And so what we do is we go out and we tell clients, for example, we've had workshops on small claims court. So in Michigan, the small claims limit will be raised to $5,000 in September, which means that more people can afford themselves of that process without having to go into the court system. And it's a relatively simple process. So we've had workshops on that within the community to explain to clients how to do it, what kind of evidence you need, how you can represent yourself successfully, hopefully, in a small claims court. So we're looking at initiatives such as that to empower people. We found, based on the work we do, that most people have the ability to represent themselves in a lot of the matters that we see routinely. And obviously there are some that can't because the matter may be more complicated, such as foreclosure. So what we've done in those cases is we've tried to direct our legal resources to those areas where people are unable to represent themselves because the matters are just more complicated.
And you just mentioned foreclosure. And as a council member here in the great city of Detroit, we've seen the huge impact of the foreclosure crisis here. Not saying that it's not taking place in all around the country, but certainly we have been impacted tremendously here in the city of Detroit. What type of services do you provide those folks who have foreclosure issues? And I believe you also work with tenant landlord matters as well. Some of those hands-on issues, but in terms of the foreclosure crisis, would you consider that the most pressing issue that you all face and that you deal with?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Michigan has been in the top probably 5 in terms of foreclosure rates in the last several years. We've always managed, unfortunately, to be in the top 5 of states that have the largest numbers of foreclosure issues. We work with housing counselors, and we're part of a statewide foreclosure project in cooperation with other legal services programs and housing counselors. What we do is we evaluate people to see if they qualify under some of the federal programs that allow them an opportunity to modify their mortgages to make them more affordable. So we counsel people on that. We review documents.
That sounds scary. I mean, that sounds big. And how long is that process? I mean, I walk into the door and I hear all these big words. Certainly, I'm thankful that I'm with you all and not doing it by myself
Right.
if I'm that person. But how long is that process?
It's very lengthy, and unfortunately in Michigan, we are what's called a foreclosure by advertisement state. In most other, well, I shouldn't say most, but in a significant number of other states, there is actually a court process before a foreclosure can take place. In Michigan, our process is merely an advertisement, so you don't, most cases don't go to court. There are very limited instances where a mortgage company would have to take an individual to court to foreclose. So we work with clients. I mean, we're realistic. Some people just will not be able to afford to stay in their homes because their financial situation has changed or other things. But since a large part of what we do is, in terms of our priorities, is making sure that individuals have housing that is safe and secure, we work with people to try to find the best legal option for them and for their families. So it can be a lengthy process, sending documents to the mortgage companies, waiting on responses. Fortunately, though, we're starting to see some legislation that is streamlining that process for our clients.
So you've seen some success, not just from the individual standpoint,
Yes.
but from a legislative standpoint.
Yes, we have. There's been a lot through on federal legislation as well as on a state level that's put in place to try to help people remain in their homes, to make homes more affordable.
Because I think that's what it's really all about. You know, we can always help individuals, but to make a change to a policy that will affect hundreds and thousands of people, I think that's when you really, as they say, earn your paycheck.
Right.
You know, when we look at the city of Detroit, we have a number of entities that are now moving into the city. You know, and I'm thankful that they're doing it because there's tax dollars involved.
Right, right.
But there's also just a new synergy in the downtown area, also in our neighborhoods, in our community. Legal aid and defenders, you all have been here in the city of Detroit for a number of years.
Yes.
How long have you been here, and what made you decide to set up shop in the city of Detroit?
We've been around since 1909 as a legal services agency in various different ways. We had a huge expansion. Probably our largest expansion would have been in around 2002 when we started to receive some federal dollars for the program. So it's our job to provide legal services to the most vulnerable populations, and that tends to be those in the bigger cities. And when you talk about a place such as Detroit and Michigan as a whole, where probably 1 out of every 3 people has some tie to the auto industry, that's huge. We all hear about layoffs, we hear about plant closings, as Gina mentioned. That's caused reduction in United Way dollars because those individuals, you got less people working, so you got less people contributing. So it is essential that we make sure that we work with individuals within the city of Detroit to make sure that they are safe and secure, that they have the benefits that they need, that they have the services that they need. And that's what we're here to do. So while it's a challenge, it's also rewarding when we look at some of the things that we're able to do and the kind of results we're able to get for our clients.
And we're certainly glad that you're here. I want to go back to speak on the policy issue and the change in terms of policy. But once again, we have to take another break, and we'll be right back with Community Spotlight.
I wish I was in school.
If only I had a math test today.
Or a book report to give.
I wish I was in school.
I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll do extra homework. I'll skip recess.
I wish I was in school.
I wish I was in school.
I really wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help. Together, we're feeding America.
I look up to a lot of the older heads, you know, the innovators, the heads of the art movements of the past. They kept it really edgy, and like a lot of the Latin American muralists and Latin American artists, and their styles were very unique and new to their time. You know, somewhat controversial, but that's who I look up to mainly. Personally, I'm very excited about going to college. It's something new and it's something different than what I'm used to. I'm definitely going to be a little out of my element, but that's what makes it so exciting, is that, you know, it's something fresh. Well, there's so many opportunities that I think I could miss out on if I didn't go, you know? Getting into college takes planning and vision. You know, it's just like when I take a brick wall and turn it into a canvas for my art. Paintings help me realize that I've got what it takes.
And we're back with Community Spotlight, legal aid and defender, having a great conversation. Thank you, ladies, for being here once again.
Well, thank you for having us.
Really enjoy the conversation, and it's very informative. We were talking earlier about some policy issues, and without getting into, you know, too many details on how things have changed in the past, because we don't want to go there. If you had a wish list of items that you think would help the residents of this city, the Tri-County area, what would be tops on that wish list?
Well, for me, top on the wish list would be the issue of expungements. In the city of Detroit, and throughout the United States, people have made mistakes in their lives, and they end up with something on their record that they're ashamed of, or something that they did once upon a time, you know, when they were younger, and now they're not allowed to apply for a job. They're denied certain education. They're denied housing simply because of a mistake that was made, and they can't get that particular mistake expunged from their record or hidden because they may have picked up a misdemeanor, a driving ticket, or something little in addition to the other felony crime. And so they can't get that record expunged. In other states, such as Chicago, they can seal a record where the employer and the housing people are not allowed to see that record, even though it's still there, but it allows that person to get better employment, to get housing, and to get that record sealed, as opposed to being expunged, which is just one felony in Michigan. That's how it is.
Now, let me ask you: is that a state?
It's state, yes.
So
it's
it's
state
the entire
regulated,
of
yes.
Illinois. Okay, wow.
And so for Michigan, if they would just be a little bit more lenient on the type of records and the rules around the expungements, I think it would make it easier for our citizens to apply for employment, to apply for housing, and to improve their living conditions, because we have probably 8,000 people right now in the city of Detroit who have applied for an expungement. And for one reason or another, and very little reasons, we're unable to help them. So for me, the wish list would be the expungement process.
Yeah. You know, we typically get a number of individuals who come down here, residents who are asking for, you know, new ways, innovative ways to, and just they're looking for some assistance to the powers that be, right, that will provide them an opportunity to expunge that record. You know, because I think you're right. I mean, you know, when you have people who are able to be gainfully employed, it changes the whole trajectory of their lives and their families' lives. And, you know, you see a lot of what's going on in our community as a result of a whole host of issues, but one of which being the fact that you have unemployment rate as high as it is.
Right.
Exactly.
And so you're competing with everybody else.
Right.
So you got a group of people that are competing with other people that have been laid off or whatever, and they're going to fall to the bottom of the pile. And we all know what happens when people become frustrated and when you feel like you can't survive. And that's when people turn to crime and other things, unfortunately. And we know from running an expungement project for the last several years that people can get records expunged and be successful. We've got many stories of people who have gotten records expunged, have gone on to be productive citizens, to have gainful employment. We had a gentleman that actually went to law school and became a lawyer that's worked with us on the project. So it's, and as Gina said, a lot of the things that we're talking about are people that made, a lot of times they made some mistake. they've been going through life just fine, but if they can't get into a nursing program. There are a lot of programs that you can't get into simply because you have that, and it doesn't matter when it happened or what it was. You're just automatically excluded. And so, as I said, people become frustrated and they become challenged, and and unfortunately, people turn back to crime because they see no other means of supporting their families and doing basically doing anything with their lives. So expungement is a vehicle that would provide people with at least some hope and an opportunity. A lot of times if people have an opportunity to do something, they can be successful.
So you heard that, expungement. You need to contact your state legislator to begin working on this issue, and I'm certainly going to reach out as well, because I think we all have to work together to find solutions. You can't put all of the weight on what you do as an organization. All the weight can't be on what we do as a local body. All the work can't be on the citizens just to get up and call someone. So working together, we can get a whole lot more done. Tell me, how do most of your referrals come to you? Where are they being referred to you from? Do you just have people who randomly contact you off of the internet when they see your number, or is someone who has received some assistance tell them about, hey, let me tell you this great organization, they helped me out? Where do most of your referrals come from?
Well, what we do, we have a unit that is our Community Relations and Government Affairs unit, and we go out to all of the community events, we go to all the community meetings, and we publicize our intake hours. We publicize the work that we do throughout the community for Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties. We also have a website, www.ladadetroit.org, where people can go to and they can send us an email if they have a question, and it comes directly to me and I respond to their emails. Or there's a number there that they can call if they want to call our intake line to have their case opened up, and then they're allowed to talk to an attorney at that time to evaluate their case and get some type of legal assistance, even if it's just simply advice on how to handle the case, or if they're referred to an attorney to handle the case with them in court or through brief negotiations. And then it's also through word of mouth. I mean, a lot of the clients are referred to them by friends. They call the city council people, or they call the county commissioners, and they say, hey, call legal aid's office. I get so many phone calls that say, this person's office referred you to us. And so we, take extra effort to help them if they're referred to us by one of the city council people, or the mayor.
Well, no, I've certainly sent some
right.
folks your way.
So we try. You're welcome. So we try to keep that communication going through our Government Relations and Community Affairs unit.
And I know that number is a toll-free number as well, because I know everyone doesn't have a computer. Is that the 877 number?
Yes.
877-964-4700. That sounds about right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, sure. We'll make sure it's correct.
Yes.
And we're going to scroll that number and the website at the bottom of this program, because you guys do such a tremendous job and serve a need for the people in this community.
And we're located right here, not far from where we're taping the show, at 613 Abbott Street, which is right down the street from the MGM Casino and right across from where they're building the new police, fire, and emergency station.
Yeah, so you're in a very bustling area.
Yes, it's a very good area, and we have plenty of parking around, and so they can feel free to walk in. We have a client service center where the clients can come in and have their cases opened.
So what's next? I mean, you're doing so much now, and if we're talking about V.1 being when you first began, we're now in V.2, version .2. What's version .3? What do you see in the future for legal aid and defenders?
Well, what we see is doing more community outreach, as we talked about, working with community groups and others to advise them of their rights and responsibilities as it pertains to the law. So we envision doing more of that. We envision continuing to work with our community partners, and we have partnerships with community agencies, with city council, other governmental agencies. We work to identify the most critical needs. So I guess we see ourselves at this point at just continuing to keep our eyes and ears in the community to see what's going on and to see what we can do as a legal services agency to make sure that the citizens are aware of their rights and responsibilities, as well as to make sure that the court system ensures that they have access to bring these disputes before the court and to receive the same treatment they would receive if they were coming in with a paid attorney.
Well, let me just say I've been very, it's been an eye-opening experience. Let me just say that getting this information, even though I knew a bit about you, went online, I've been referring citizens to you as well. And I thank you for that. But, you know, words can express how much I appreciate the job that you do for those citizens in need, because, you know, we can't help everyone. Right. But those who we can, we should do everything we can to help. And, you know, by all means, I know that that is exactly what you do. So, again, thank you for being here. Enjoyed the conversation. And you've been tuning in to Community Spotlight with Councilman James Tate and with Attorney Hall and Polley. Thank you so much.